actually partnered with Mo Vaughn, who was an ex-baseball player, played for the Boston Red Sox.
Of course,
and the Angels. Yeah, Mo Vaughn. So it's funny because I used to train him. He used to come to American Top Team, and I didn't know who he was either, because I'm not a baseball guy. Like, I mean, sorry guys, but I'm really not. Like, I played football and I fought, professionally. I'm like, all right, that's all I know. Like, if Ray Lewis came into the gym, I would know who that was. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But yeah, Mo, and I was like, all right, yeah, cool, big dude. My coach, one of my head coaches there, were like, this guy's the ex-baseball player. He played in the major leagues. You probably know him. And I was like, I don't really watch baseball, but yeah, bring him in. And so he came in and he was like, just cool, man. And we kicked it off really well. And I started training him. And the funny thing was my family, my dad's side of the family is from Boston. So they're big fans. So I was like, this guy named Mo Vaughn? He was like, get out of here. No way. Like, super happy that I was training him. But I was like, yeah, man. So, so what ended up happening was he opened up a facility for batting practice. And so he was teaching the kids how to hit youth baseball, like 7 all the way down to, like 6 or 7 years old, all the way up to high school and college. And now, we got some major league guys in there too. And ended up being like, he wanted me to come in. At the time, I had my own facility that I just opened up, literally just opened up, probably about maybe a month in. And he shows me a picture or a video of his new facility that he's moving into, and it blew my facility out of the water. And I was kind of like, well, damn, I wish I would have known this. But he was like, man, if you could with these kids, it'd be great, just to get a feel for it. And so I had a team of coaches at that point. I had a lot of interns and I had a lot of assistant coaches that I brought over. And so I was like, you know what? I canceled the lease where I had. I ended up selling it over to one of my friends who actually owns his own facility there too now, which is about 30 minutes from the gym that we're at now in Boca Raton. And teamed up with Mo. Now we got the fighters there and we have the baseball kids. And in March, it's in a couple of months, we're actually moving, where we're expanding the gym another 5,000 square feet. So we have 10,000 square feet of working space, and now we're going into 5,000 square feet where I'm actually bringing in one of my boxing coaches and another MMA coach to run those guys through their training and also with the strength and conditioning. So things are going well. Obviously Dustin winning his fight was amazing, with Conor. It was definitely a highlight of my career. Obviously a highlight of his career, and we're just going to keep rolling, man. I'm very happy with where I'm at, but definitely not satisfied yet,
So who are some of the names that we should really be looking out for here in the next year or so? Some people that are going to make a name for themselves.
Yeah, there's a few. There's a couple that are already in the UFC right now that are making their way to the top 15, top 10. Randy Costa is one of them. He's actually fighting in a few months, or not a few months, in a few weeks, actually, 4 weeks. So in a month. You have Jared. Well, Jared Gordon is a name, but he's not that big of a name yet. He's going to be one. So Jared Gordon has a crazy story. He's fighting in 3 weeks, actually 2 weeks from now. Brendan Allen is another guy who's fighting UFC again, hopefully in the next couple of months. And then a guy that's not in the UFC but should be and will be is, again, Tyler Ray, which is the guy that I talked about who won last week with that first round stoppage. So if you go on to like my YouTube channel or my Instagram, you can see him kind of finishing off his last training session before his last fight. We did like a 3x5 threshold circuit where we kind of pushed him in more sport specific movement patterns. But he's a workhorse. Definitely looks like Hercules, and kind of looks like Dustin from the side, but people always mistake him for Dustin. I'm like, yeah, if Dustin like grew a lot of muscle, he would probably look like him. So, but don't get me wrong, Dustin's big. Dustin's a big boy, man. He's bigger than what people think. He's wide. His back is real wide. Legs need a little bit more work, but that's because we've actually been able to work his legs a little bit more so because of he had a hip impingement at one point where we really couldn't work as much. Obviously, we did as much as we could with the hip hinging and some high box squats, but there was a point there where we really couldn't even deep squat him or do anything of that nature to help build up any type of leg strength or leg hypertrophy, in a sense, just to fill out his body, to make it more overall symmetrical, not so much from a aesthetic standpoint, but more so from just a injury reduction standpoint, just kind of keep him more, based and stabilize himself. But now, he's had a hip resurfacing. He feels good, and we're able to do a little bit more things with it. MMA is different, though, man. If we get into it like that, a lot of the stuff that I'm doing with them is more power and speed based. There's a lot of strength that is built in from the beginning. We want to make sure that we have a general strength base in order for them to be able to increase their power production, increase their speed, increase their velocity, and then go into the capacities of that. But yeah, a lot of the times it's hard for us to really put more weight on the bar for the simple fact that they have to make a weight class or they have other training sessions they have to go through. But don't get me wrong, we definitely lift as heavy as we need to at certain times. We work on, I usually use what I call a condensed conjugate model, where we take the old school conjugate, or you could call it West Side conjugate, but we're condensing it into 2 or 3 days. And the main thing is it's just vertical integration. We're trying to bring up all different systems at once. And I'm turning up the dials on a focus point depending on where they're at in camp or if they're off camp. And from there, it allows them to be ready at all times, because when it comes down to combat sports, a lot of these guys have to take fights on either short notice or they don't know when they're going to compete. There's no seasons here, so we got to make sure that at all points in times they're ready to go, and they're ready to train efficiently too as well. So it's not just about the fight. It's also about, how well they can be in shape for training and helping their teammates out too. So I have to make sure that that's there.
I mean, I don't think that the average person realizes the lifestyle that you need to live to be at a certain level. I mean, from the moment you wake to every glass of water you have, to every calorie that you put in your body, to every hour of sleep that you get or don't get, to rehabilitation stuff, to, massage, warming up, cooling down. I mean, dynamic stuff, like just there's so much that goes into creating a fighter or an athlete that's highly skilled, and that's their career, that's their life. Everything about it is poured into that. And it's mind-blowing for most people to even conceive of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. It's definitely a full-time job. It's what they do. When you're a professional, it's very hard to try to take your focus off of that, and balance is a big issue with a lot of these guys too as well, because they feel like they're not doing enough. When I was fighting, I still had a full business going on, and I think that was one of the reasons why I dropped like my first 3 pro fights. I didn't do well. Not so much because of talent and lack of, it was more so of focus, losing fights I shouldn't have lost, not getting beat up, but just taking, bad positions and having the wrong strategy going into it, because it just wasn't focused on it. It's like, all right, I'm going to just use my athleticism, use what I have, and not come in there with a game plan. And that was one of the things, is like the second fight that I would have said was the last fight that I actually had, was where I followed the game plan and we stuck to it. And that strategy was worked over and over again to the T, to where it was second nature. It was basically unconscious confidence at that point. Yeah. And was able to just dominate my last fight. So I kind of went out, on a positive note when you think about it. But yeah, at the end of the day, if I were to take it back, I probably would have set aside a lot of the other stuff that I was doing. And I take that now into account when I'm owning my own business and running all these things. I want to make sure that if I am going to do all these other things, I'm going to make sure that I have other people in line that can help out and facilitate that. And I can, again, just help myself, but also help them get to where I need to be and where they want to be. So that's the thing, is like, if you are going to do multiple things, make sure that you have a solid team around you to help, and make sure that you can delegate that appropriately and not feel like you have to micromanage. Because that was the issue with me, is like, I probably could have had other coaches run the gym and run the class while I was getting ready for fights, but I couldn't let it go at that time. I was young. I was like 23, 24 years old. So, I was all me all the time. And to that, it was also that all the clients, all the members were used to me actually doing the training and doing the coaching on a daily basis. So when somebody else new came in, they didn't really take to them as much. And so for that, it was either one or two things was going to happen. Either my business was going to suffer, or my career as a professional was going to suffer. And just so happened that in the first, half of my career, that's what ended up happening. So,
Yeah.
That's what I tell the fighters now, the young guys. Like, I see kids that coming up, like 22, 23, 24, they get these offers to do these different things because, everybody wants to be connected to a UFC fighter or somebody of that high caliber. And they get dangled the carrot in front of them. And for that, I got to tell them to ease up on it and just take your time, be patient. Even with me nowadays, with new opportunities that people want to bring to my attention, I also have to make sure that I understand that this is all a process and it'll come. And if they want me now, they're definitely going to want me later and want to do something with me later. So I need to make sure that I block out all distraction and keep focus on the true task. And that was a lesson learned hard at a young age.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've learned a lot and you're still relatively young, right? I mean, so it's great that you've had all this business experience early in your life, and it's going to serve you well here for the next few decades as you continue to help, local talent, and for that matter, fighters from all over the world that'll come to your facility in Boca Raton. What's the name of your facility?
Daru Strong Performance Gym.